growth in Naukri was minus 25% YOY.
Minus 25% YOY.
Share price has dropped from 1400 rupees to 370 rupees. Board said, we are now giving you a direction you have to take. Every time you sack somebody, मुझे बात में नहीं आती.
Should employer get that much attached to each and every employee?
Sacking would scar an organization. Even the people left behind.
A lot of entrepreneurs get into a rush to get a VC on board.
A smart entrepreneur will ensure, even if he raises money, he will not.
When did you think that now is the time to diversify? Were you fearing that this is going to go down?
Most entrepreneurs who are successful are is a very common trait among entrepreneurs.
I read somewhere you need to know where to grit and where to quit.
Actually,
have you ever thought about quitting? मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा कोई काम होता है या कोई ऐसी चीज़, ऐसा शख्स निकल के आता है तो उसके कहीं ना कहीं कोई सीड्स बचपन में है. तो आपके बचपन के बारे में ना मैंने कहीं पढ़ा है ना देखा है, वो जानने की बहुत इच्छा है.
So, my father was a doctor in the government.
In the government?
Dermatologist.
Okay.
First a general physician, then a dermatologist.
Okay.
And and he spent until he retired, he was in the government. So more than 30 years, maybe 32, 33 years in the government. He was a doctor. And so I grew up in Delhi, mostly in government colonies.
Okay.
Till I was about 20 years old.
Till you started going to college?
schooling के time, schooling time, even college के time.
College के time.
So जब मैं 20 साल का था is when my father retired when I was 21, and that's when we moved out of the government colony and we moved to our own private home. So my growing up years, my formative years, they were largely in one school in Delhi, St. Columbus School, and in government colonies. With brief interludes, where I was not in a government colony. So, you grew up in a milieu where, your neighbors were all they were from all over India. सरकारी कॉलोनी में तो
हर जगह से ट्रांसफर होके लोग आए होते हैं.
Right? We all had similar socio-economic kind of backgrounds in terms of wealth and money and things.
Correct.
And therefore, we all grew up with similar values, similar parents, similar sort of incomes of parents, similar lifestyles.
तो वो क्या lifestyle? मतलब similar. आपने गवर्नमेंट कॉलोनी नाम 3-4 बार लिया, तो ये जहन में ये वर्ड क्यों है? मतलब इसका क्या मीनिंग?
I have very happy memories of my childhood.
Okay.
Growing up, because government colonies में, the government colony we were in, it was full of parks and playgrounds.
Okay.
So you step out of your house and you're on a playground and you're playing cricket, hockey, football, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Badminton, volleyball, table tennis. So games are a big thing. So you studied and you played games and you read books.
You studied, you played games, and you read books.
That is the main sort of thing. उस समय ना television था. So I think this is early 70s. I think there were 2 or 3 television sets in the whole colony.
In the whole colony?
In the whole colony. कभी कुछ होता था, then 15 of us go to a friend's house. Only one friend of ours had a TV. Okay.
ये किस साल की बात कर रहे हैं आप?
मैं 72, 73.
72, 73.
When I was 9 or 10 years old.
Right.
Okay. So there was no TV. There was obviously no mobile phone. My happiest years were spent in the government colony, the D1 and D2 flats, which are now C2, in Satyamarg, Chanakyapuri. Okay. And in 1970, the Chanakya cinema got built. Okay.
The iconic Chanakya cinema.
Got built. But of course, we were not allowed to see movies.
Achha.
Okay, because movies are a distraction, television is a distraction. It's not a good idea. You got to study. Okay.
कुछ बनना है.
कुछ बनना है. So once in 2-3 months, we were allowed to go and see a movie. So we used to hop across and see a movie. I have happy memories of that.
तो आप अकेले जाते थे?
No,
Family?
friends.
अच्छा.
Okay. So life was, so I remember I was 6 or 7 years old. I think I was maybe 8 years old. And we used to travel alone in DTC buses. Okay, our parents let us go. And I can't imagine today letting a 7-year-old go alone or 8-year-old go alone, to the bus stop to catch a DTC bus and go. So life was different then, fairly carefree. Delhi had much less traffic, no pollution, right? So yeah, so I had.
And you were living in the best areas, Chanakyapuri.
G. So so I had I think very good time growing up.
Very, very good time. So this you've spoken about, how, on what kind of memories you have, how you felt, and what were those seeds that were sown in that time? Obviously, there was.
See, it's a combination of, let's say, home environment, friends in the neighborhood, and school, right? I think all three were aligned. Okay. So standard government of India, middle class upbringing, right? Honest government servant doesn't make too much money, right? So you're told from the beginning by your parents, son, study hard. You have no wealth to inherit. We cannot give you anything. We can only put you in a decent school and pay the fees. And if agar padhoge, to kuch banoge. Because you study hard, then further doors will open. And then you study hard, then further doors will open, and then eventually, you can settle down and get a good job, wherever, right? And that was drilled into us, and that was also drilled into my friends by their parents. And I went to a school which I would say 60, 70%, maybe 80% of the students, the all-boys school, St. Columbus, where 60, 70, 80% of students were from similar middle-class backgrounds with similar priorities at home, right? And St. Columbus had a huge focus in academics, sports too, but huge focus in academics and discipline and character building. And discipline meant corporal punishment.
At that time,
caning hoti thi.
Caning hoti thi.
Okay, so you were like, badmashi karni kar lo, but ultimately you have to study. I think those three were aligned, and that's.
But वो सारे सबके लिए अलाइन थे, तो आपकी जर्नी एकदम सुपरस्टार जर्नी रही
नहीं, so
बाकी लोग कैसे?
I think everybody who studied hard mostly has done well.
Mostly has done.
I mean, if you study hard, you get the grades.
But if you look back on your friend circle, would you say that those values really helped the whole group, the whole bunch?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, many did not become entrepreneurs, but in their chosen fields, they have done well.
Okay.
So, fundamental principle: if you work hard, you will achieve results. You achieve results, further doors open. That's a fundamental principle in life. And I have learned. Now, can you succeed without that? Yes, you can.
Okay.
But agar ye karoge, it's probably a higher guarantee of success.
Higher guarantee of success. तो वो environment 1970s का आज भी गवर्नमेंट कॉलोनीज हैं, आज भी उसी सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्ट्राटा के लोग हैं, वही बच्चे हैं. क्या आपको लगता है कि वो एनवायरनमेंट और आज के इस एनवायरनमेंट में कोई फ़र्क है? बच्चों में वो फायर है?
काफ़ी कुछ बदला है.
Okay.
Children have many more distractions today.
Many more distractions.
Right? Like I said, we didn't have TV. There was no mobile phone. There was no apps. There was no gaming. Right? A game meant you go in the field and play.
Yeah. Run.
Physical exercise. Now, gaming does not necessarily mean that today. So, I guess some kids still have it. Some kids don't. Maybe there's more of it in smaller towns.
Would you say it's become harder to succeed and work harder because of distractions?
I would say people have options.
People have options.
Right? And they may or may not be focused on the direction that we were focused on.
तो
but देखिए, आप आकाश लाते हैं या चलाते थे
जी,
तो आपने देखा होगा कि लोग कितनी मेहनत करते हैं
जी.
अभी भी आपके स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, मेहनत करते हैं, where are they coming from? They're coming very often from middle class and lower middle class backgrounds who want to make it in life.
Because they feel there is no backup. So this
Not
is
just
the
that,
only route.
not just this is the route.
This is the only route.
This is the route. How do I make it ahead?
How do I break my glass ceilings?
Now, there may be a certain privileged class of students where, they are not required to work so hard to succeed because the parents have done that a generation ago.
But is there a good thought process?
I don't think so.
Irrespective of what parents have done?
I think very often your self-esteem is linked to your own achievements. And therefore, it's really important for every young person to try and achieve something and do something.
And
it need not be in studies.
Any field.
Yeah, but कुछ करो.
कुछ करो.
कुछ commit करो. Focus रहो.
आपकी life में, you've been to some really prestigious institutions for your academics. So which institution has played what pivotal part in forming your thought process and the personality?
I would say school.
The school.
Because that's 12 years.
That's 12. It's the time that you spend.
12 years also is formative years. See, by the time you finish school, your values and your character is more or less set.
Is set.
Your work ethic is more or less set. Your ambition is more or less set. Right? So by the time I was in class 12, all those things were in place in my head. This is who I am, this is who I will be. Now, what I will end up doing was another story.
Right.
But, values, work ethic, character, ambition was all set. And that's the case. I think that's the case for everybody. That जब तक 18 के हो जाते हो, I mean, you can build on that. You can't deviate too much from that foundation.
मतलब flexibility और ज़्यादा नहीं रहती. In few degrees here and there.
Yeah, that's right.
You can expand yourself, but not significantly.
Yeah, जो अब almost बन चुके हो.
And you feel that it is true in today's age and time?
I think so. I think by the time 18 के होते हो, you are, several foundational things in your head are set.
This is very important, and especially for people who would watch this. A lot of these people who may or may not get opportunity to be part of good institutions in their growing up years, they struggle, they go through a lot of social trauma, failures, and a lot of that also gets formed and firmed by the time they come out of the school. And they feel that they will never make it, they'll never start a business, they'll never do anything good in life because they've been failing in the last 18 years.
So, what a good school does, it gives you the opportunity to build a solid foundation. तो मान लो मेरे स्कूल में, मान लो 70% लोगों ने अच्छी फाउंडेशन बनी.
जी.
In a lesser school, it may be 20%, 30% of people. But it does not mean it's impossible. Right? If you look at some of the greatest people, right, they didn't even complete school. They did not have the same opportunities that I was fortunate to have in my kind of school. But still, they made it. So it's not impossible. It's just that you have to do a lot more on your own. Institutional support कम होता है.
And you feel that people who go through challenges in the early years, how can they transform themselves in future?
I think they have to, I guess, self-help. I guess, their network around them. I guess, just look at people who have come from similar backgrounds and where they've reached, and try and talk to them. You have to be more of a self-starter. See, the students who go to good institutions, many things are handed to them on a platter.
On a platter. Paths become easier.
Doors open. Yeah.
Doors open. With the name doors open.
नाम से दरवाजे खुलते हैं. That's the way of the world. But it does not mean if you don't have those credentials, it does not mean that you can't make it. You have to try differently, try harder, be slightly more enterprising, be more of a self-starter.
And when you use this word self-starter a number of times, it has, a lot of connotations. While you are in trouble, you want to get out, you need that discipline, you need to push yourself out of it. And when was the time when you felt that, job is not for you?
See,
You need
I
to
had,
self-start into a business.
I'll tell you, when I was 11 or 12 years old, right? Yeah, we all daydream, right?
Right.
Okay. And my best daydreaming time was in the school bus, just staring out of the window coming home, daydreaming. Now, when I was 10 years old, I went to Chanakya Cinema and saw Hathi Mere Saathi, Rajesh Khanna. I came back starry-eyed and said, मैं बड़ा होकर Rajesh Khanna बनूंगा.
Okay.
Okay.
Actor.
Rajesh Khanna, not actor, Rajesh Khanna.
Okay. The character in that.
No, Rajesh Khanna.
Acha.
The actor Rajesh Khanna, but not any actor.
Okay.
Rajesh Khanna.
Okay.
Okay. Now, by the time I was 11 years old, I figured that's a stupid dream. I'm never going to achieve it. It's unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
But around that time, the first cricket match, test match, was telecast in India. उससे पहले live telecast नहीं होती.
जी.
So it was the English team or the MCC team visiting India in 1973, and that time was local telecast only. So Delhi का match Delhi में telecast हुआ.
Okay.
So we sat and watched it for 5 days. Okay, उस समय holidays चल रहे थे. We sat and watched it for 5 days at my friend's house, morning to evening. I said, man, I'll grow up and be a cricketer. I will play cricket for India and I will be Sunil Gavaskar.
Okay.
Okay. 1 year more of that, and I realized this is also an unrealistic dream.
Right.
It will never happen. I'm not good enough. B, I probably will not be good enough even if I try. And C, in our kinds of backgrounds, sports as a career was not encouraged.
Not encouraged at all.
And in those days, cricketers didn't make the kind of money they make today.
Yeah.
Okay, and they weren't they were heroes, but they were not the kind of heroes they are today. Yeah. Right.
Not the commercial success heroes.
Okay. So I said, then around that time, maybe a couple of years later, maybe 1975 or something, I saw a story in a magazine. I think India Today नहीं आई थी. Maybe it was Business India, India Today, I forget which magazine.
Okay.
But I saw there was a cover story on JRD Tata.
Okay.
And I read that. Right? I used to read a lot.
Yeah.
I read that. And I said, you know what? Maybe at some point in time, I should start a business. उस समय entrepreneur नहीं बोलते थे.
Businessman.
Business. I would start a business.
Industrialist.
Not industrial is बहुत बड़ी चीज़ थी. I'll start a business.
Okay.
Okay. And that ambition, the fuzzy goal, stayed with me.
Fuzzy goal.
It stayed with me. So when I actually did it, people are not surprised. And I think entrepreneurs need highly supportive families. So my parents, I must say, I was blessed that they said, yeah, we'll support you no matter, do what you want, it'll be okay. Keep struggling, it'll be okay. Just work hard.
And those who don't find this support?
It's harder.
It's harder.
I mean, look, have you asked your father what the reaction at home was when he started his company?
Actually, he was alone in Delhi.
That's even harder.
Where,
I was living with my parents.
Yeah. He was alone in Delhi and teaching in schools, and some friends said, okay, why don't we do it together? So he said, let's try. And they never thought it'll be a business, it'll be a tuition center where some kids will come home and we'll be able to make some extra buck. I think that was the thought process, and that would have really helped the finances outside of the the school job, the salary. So which was a.
But many large companies start from tiny efforts.
Yes.
And you don't have the same. I mean, if you ask me 1990, company kitni badi hogi, I'd say I'm happy running a small company. Yeah. Until the year 2000, I was happy running a small company. I didn't want to build a big company.
Correct. You're saying this, and I really want to emphasize on this, because today when somebody thinks of a company, invariably their mind goes towards, unicorn making, large company, employing so many people, big fundraise. So media has played a role in, for the positives of it, and also creating certain false aspirations, or, pushing people to be in hurry to build large businesses rather than, bake it and then make it, which has been the process ever since. So how do you see the today's environment, as compared to what you have seen?
See, I have always told young entrepreneurs who are starting out, dream big, but start small.
Dream big, start small.
देखो ड्रीम से मुझे I was daydreamer. मैं
Yeah.
सुनी ऑफ करूँगा, राजकन्या बनूंगा. So good to dream.
Yeah.
But when you actually act
Hmm.
and take action on it, it's a good idea to start small.
Hmm.
Because when you start small, see, you're bound to make mistakes.
Correct.
When you start out.
You're going in uncharted territories.
Right? If you make mistakes, you'll make mistakes, you'll fail.
Hmm.
Now, if you started small, you make small mistakes,
Hmm.
and your failures are smaller.
Hmm.
You can pick yourself up
Hmm.
and carry on. Now, if you try and start large and you make a large mistake, you may never come out of it because it can completely take you down.
Correct.
So learn the nuts and the bolts of the business by starting small.
Hmm.
I can go back to your father's example. When he began to teach, it was about those 10 students
who came,
12 who came into that class. He knew each of them by name.
Yeah.
He knew their strengths, their weaknesses. He knew how to teach each one of them.
Correct.
So that they succeed.
And he knew who was strong and weak where.
Yeah, right? And on that foundation of the success of those 12, the next batch came. Absolutely. And the next batch and the next batch. So the nuts and bolts were learned by your father small. Now, I do not know when he stopped teaching and began managing.
2004.
Yeah. But by that time, he was a master teacher.
Yeah.
And he could tell others and teach others.
Yeah.
And so he was fully qualified to run a large organization in that business because he knew how to teach. Because he learnt it student by student.
Yes.
That's a great example.
So how do people avoid these distractions of, thinking big and going all out and raising funds and, just getting distracted?
So I think
and in the process destruct a lot of value and create heartburns.
I think you have to be very level-headed and mature. Now, it's not that you should not raise money. It may be competition raising money, so you have to raise money. Right? It's the environment. Maybe there's too much venture capital sloshing around in the system.
Right.
With companies getting funded and being given more money than they should be. Therefore, you also have to raise more money than you should. I mean, how will you compete? All of that is there. But having said that, I think a smart entrepreneur will ensure, even if he raises money, he will not build cost structures that are irreversible, painful to reverse.
Not build irreversible cost structures.
Yeah, which are hard to scale down.
If the crisis comes.
अगर अगला funding नहीं मिला या market में उतनी sale नहीं हुई, right? You may have an unsustainable overhead or cost structure. Now, मान लो आपने 3,000 लोग hire कर दिए. Suddenly you have to go down to 500. अब 2,500 लोगों को sack करना है. Sacking is a traumatic experience for the person getting sacked and the person also doing sacking.
Correct.
Right? मुझे याद है that no, we thus far have never ever actually sacked to cut cost.
You stacked on performance, but not
even on performance.
Okay.
See, अगर performance ठीक नहीं है, we say okay, transfer that. Company में 5,500 लोग हैं, there's so many businesses. You can always find space for somebody.
A suitable role.
We have sacked on integrity, we have sacked on, but that's not large numbers, right?
Okay.
But every time you sack somebody, मुझे रात को नींद नहीं आती. Because it was, मैं कैसे बोलूँगा, क्या बोलूँगा? Will you get another job somewhere? Don't know. So it was a hell of a responsibility as an employer.
This is a very important thing you mentioned. Should employer get that much attached to each and every employee?
Not each and every employee, but the concept of sacking.
But the concept of sacking.
See, when do you sack? When is the pressure to sack? When there's a recession.
Yeah.
When there's a recession, the guy you're letting go off may not get another job.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's being sacked for no fault of his or hers.
It's the fault of the sector and the time.
I mean, it was a bad luck.
But as they say कि गांव को बचाने के लिए एक ही बलि देनी पड़े तो ठीक है, ऐसा कहते हैं.
हाँ, सही भी है.
तो
So I think what happened in our case.
Hmm.
See, first of all, we are a highly profitable company with very high margins, which means we are cash rich.
Hmm.
Right? There's plenty of money in the bank, company's bank.
Yeah.
Right? 2008 में या 9 में जब global financial crisis आया, there were 2 quarters in a row. We are listed by then.
Yeah.
There are 2 quarters in a row when growth in Naukri was minus 25% YOY.
minus 25% YOY.
Huh.
Not even a month or a quarter.
This quarter was the same quarter last year, minus 25%. Right? There's money in the bank, but we are listed, and our share price has dropped from 1,400 rupees to 370 rupees.
Over a period of
3 to 6 months.
Wow.
Market crash was.
Correct.
Right? We went down along with it. Okay, so your share price is down to 35%, down to 60%, 65%. And growth is down. There was a lot of pressure on us to sack.
Clearly.
Right? We cut cost. So हमने बोला नहीं करेंगे. So
a lot of pressure from whom?
Environment, analysts, shareholders, investors, board. Right? चर्चा होती थी. डाउन साइज करो. हम लोग नहीं करेंगे. क्यों नहीं करेंगे? सब ऐसा है. कंपनी इन लोगों के कारण बनी है. हम सैक करेंगे. We'll have blood on our hands. इनको अभी नौकरियां नहीं मिलेंगी. There's a crisis on. So, and by the end of the second quarter, board said, we are now giving you a direction, you have to sack.
Oh, there was a direction. Okay.
तो हमने बोला एक काम, we agreed with the board, ऐसा है, you give us a target that 6 months from now, उस समय हमारा कंपनी का हेडकाउंट था 1800.
Okay.
You give us a target, जैसे 1400. So we said, okay, fine. 6 months from now, we'll be at 1400.
Okay.
We said, fine. How we do it up to us.
Okay.
So what do? We simply put an embargo on hiring.
Okay.
Nobody will hire in the company unless it's cleared by the 3 directors.
Okay.
3 full-time directors. Okay. So yeah. Now, in our company,
attrition.
The average age was 24 or 25. 55% of women. Now, very often, when somebody would get married, if her husband was living in a different city,
they leave.
She would quit and leave. So, natural attrition, normally we would replace them. We did not replace. We said internal replacement, ढूंढो ये करो वो करो. या कम लोगों से काम चलाओ. Right. Second, our people were our salespeople, which is a big chunk of our headcount, were selling to HR managers. Right. So they would constantly get headhunted.
By those HR managers?
By the clients.
By the clients.
Okay.
And you were okay with it?
And now we're okay with it. Okay, fine. So we would, so you know, and there were 80 people where performance was poor. We put them on PIP, a performance improvement plan, which is basically a signal, guys, your performance is not good. You got 6 months to either improve. If you don't improve, you got 6 months to look for a job. So 80 में से 64 improved, remaining found a job and went out before they needed to be sacked.
So you reached your target.
We reached our target
without
painlessly
firing.
So there's always a way. दूसरी time ये हुआ था when COVID happened.
Correct.
So April, June 2020.
Yeah.
That quarter, Naukri growth was minus 44%.
Minus 44%.
We had money in the bank, and we asked the CFO. So if sales goes to 0, marketing expenditure is 0, and increments are 0, how long can the company last on the money in the bank? He came back with a number saying 3 years. So we said, okay, no sacking. 3 years, long time dekhenge.
And board supported this time.
See, COVID के समय, as it is you're stressed, you lose your job, you're triply stressed, you don't know what's going to happen, lockdown hai, there's no vaccine, you don't know what's going to happen. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. You're just moving ahead on faith. कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. So you don't want to give your employees more trauma.
Yes. And how does it come back and pay to entrepreneur, to you as an individual, and to the company?
देखो, एक तो बॉस, you have a clear conscience.
Yeah.
कि मैंने गलत काम नहीं किया. Okay.
So you sleep peacefully.
Well, as peacefully as you can. COVID, I don't know how many people slept peacefully,
but at least no more blood in your hand.
We didn't create more trauma.
More trauma.
Then,
more pain.
Yeah. Right. Then you see, India mein, at least in our generation, maybe a generation after us also, sacking was not done. Companies did not downsize, right? And therefore, sacking would scar an organization. Even the people left behind, remaining there, it could happen to me next time.
Yeah.
2001 May, in that meltdown, our competitor sacked 80 people in sales to cut cost. We hired 80 people that year in sales extra. Right? Quite simply because we figured that the sales ka banda hai, wo to revenue laega. Without that, how will the company survive?
Correct.
So that worked. 2008 mein kya hua? Our competition sacked people. We did not sack. When the market came back in 2 years, our competition had fewer salespeople. We had many more
to choose from.
No, in our company.
Yeah.
And they went out and sold. Right? Second, you get a more motivated, employee if you feel I'm in the right place.
I'm in the right place.
Company cares for me. Company cares for me.
But if you look at some of the companies,
or even 2020, COVID
also similar.
I mean, market came back faster than we thought. We were prepared simply because we had all our employees in the company.
But if you look at the companies which are heavily VC funded, they have a very clear target on the return that they want to earn on the investment that they've done. And we have seen many examples, our industry, be it, Byju's, they had to go through a lot of challenge and attrition because there was a lot of pressure, there's no cash flow. Obviously, there are other reasons, but we have seen it in many companies. But we have seen some success stories also emerging out of these practices.
Yeah, it's about what you want to do, what your values, what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this method is definitely better than that method, but this is our method.
Okay. But there's no right or wrong. This is your method.
This is the method
where you're comfortable.
This is the method we are comfortable with.
Okay. And it is the case where you have invested in some companies where you might, InfoEdge holds minority investments or somewhere larger investments, and they also have other VCs and they've gone through tough times, and have they taken action? So how has been the mind conflict there?
Well, no. So when we are minority investment, we are not running a company. It's that management responsibility.
Okay, so if you're not in operating chair.
Yeah. So of course we have conversations, we advise.
Okay.
Say, listen, if you're getting rid of people, do it nicely. Give them a soft landing as best as possible. And therefore, most founders are nice people.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go out of his or her way to hurt somebody.
Right. But then they get cornered by, the board and the investors that they have.
Well, if you're not profitable and you only got this much money and time running out, you don't have a choice. I mean, there's no need for pressure on the board. You can see it.
Yeah. That
पैसे हैं नहीं, खत्म हो रहे हैं, company loss में है. I need to turn the ship around. And that may actually be requirement and the right thing to do, because otherwise the company will not survive. See, हमारे यहाँ survival is not at stake. Because survival
it's a
is not
different
at stake,
situation.
Yeah, because survival is not at stake, we could afford to do this.
If survival was in question, then
we have to do it, because company has to survive. You know, if by getting rid of asking 20% of people to go, you can save 80% jobs. I mean,
you would have thought about it.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs, get into a rush to get a VC on board, and in the process, they get into a treadmill where they have to give them liquidity, give them return, and in order to do that, bring more investors, continue to dilute. So, what is the right time for someone to raise money?
Is there A, when you need it.
A, when you need it.
B, when it's available.
When it is available, even if you don't need it.
C, if competition got it and you don't, and you need to compete.
Okay, compete with a deeper pocket.
Yeah, your competitor may have got more money. So ये तीन होते हैं. Now, if you don't need it, but you're getting it, you're often tempted.
Correct.
And maybe you can do stuff with the money, which otherwise you could not do. Maybe your canvas will become wider. Maybe your ambition will change.
So building Naukri successfully, when did you think that now is the time to diversify? Were you fearing that this is going to go down, or were you fearing that there are so many opportunities and I have now system, bandwidth and knowledge and network to tap into more?
So the first diversification was internal.
Okay.
The Jeevan Sathi, 99 acres and Shiksha. So then now we are 4 businesses.
But very different. I mean, obviously it's about, classified.
So I'll tell you. So 97 maybe launched Naukri, April 97.
Right.
Around November, December 98, I told our tech person, who was part-time, who was working from his house, I told him that we have done jobs, which is one classified category in the papers.
Correct.
एक और classified category है battery money.
Battery money.
Can we do that? He said, okay.
Was anybody doing at that time?
If somebody was, I didn't know it.
Okay. This was purely from the, the classification of classifieds. एक cover कर लिया, दूसरे को cover.
Exactly. We are following print. Right? जो print में चलता है वो हम internet पे चलाएंगे. तो site बना दी and we call it जीवन साथी. अब launch कर दी, but we put no effort, no resources, just floated it. Profile आते थे, लोग contact करते थे, self service था. Site was running, so traffic आ रहा था.
Correct.
When we raised venture capital from ICICI Venture in the year 2000, they said, "Bhai, what is this Jeevan Sathi? इसको बंद करो. We have invested in Naukri, just focus." So we said, okay, as you say. We didn't argue. They also said, change your auditors.
Okay.
We want a big 4, big 5.
Yeah.
In those days, there were 5. Our auditors were small people, so 2 brothers. Okay. I had known them in school. The younger brother was 1 year senior in school, so I had known them. So went to his house and office was his house. I went to his office and said, yeah, Amit, we have to, sorry, but we have to part ways because we've taken venture capital and
they want big 5.
Big 5. He said, no problem, because we were thinking of shutting our practice and starting a .com anyway.
Wow.
Bubble time tha. It was a fantastic year of Jeevan Sathi. Ab Jeevan Sathi chalao.
Oh, you handed over Jeevan Sathi to them?
We kept a minority shareholding. He said, 55% आप ले लो, 45% हम रखेंगे. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. हम और पैसा नहीं डालेंगे. So they tried to raise money. They could not raise money. Ran for 4 years. Meanwhile, Naukri grew larger and broke even.
Yeah.
And we had this money building up in the bank. And so, what do you do with this money? So, give it back to shareholders, keep it in the bank, or one of us said, let's buy back Jeevan Sathi.
Why not?
So we went to,
The CA brothers.
Our former chartered accountants, the two brothers, and said, "Yaar, do you want to sell?" They said, "Haan, yaar, we've tried very hard, but we have no venture capital. So why don't you guys buy it?" So we agreed on a price, gave them a check, and bought it.
Completely. Clean them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we give them for free. So they made some money.
Oh, you gave them free, like completely. Ye lo pakdo, chalao.
See, we didn't want the site to die.
Was it an attachment or you felt for the opportunity?
I felt there's something there.
Something there. So ये brew होता रहेगा साथ साथ.
So they were running it. We bought it back. So now suddenly we had jobs and matrimony both. Then we said, let's add on more. Next print classified is real estate.
Correct.
So education is a big ad market.
Correct.
Print. That's how we got into. We were following print, category by category.
You were following print, classified, and killing each one of them, or
not killing,
taking them online one by one.
Yeah. Not killing. I mean, coexisting, getting a little share. Now, what happened was that we went public in 2006.
Yes.
Now, when you do the DRHP and then the RHP, there's a section called objects of the issue. Why are you going public? So मैंने लिखा उसमें कि साहब, we want the VC to get an exit, we want to be in a different strategic space, we want our stock to have currency, we want ESOP to have value. I gave 5-6 reasons why I wanted to go public.
Correct.
Right? And the investment banker said, this will not do. There's a standard 5 reasons you have to write. Okay.
Which are?
Organic growth, inorganic growth, general corporate purposes. Okay. So I said, डाल दो फिर. डाल दिया. Right? And the truth is we didn't need the money. Company is profitable.
हमें तो exit देनी है तो जाना पड़ेगा.
Company is profitable. So every quarter the auditors come and tell the board, use of IPO proceeds nil. Okay. So after 2-3 quarters, board said, what is this? Please use the IPO proceeds. SEBI will come after you. So देखो क्या कर सकते हो.
या तो वापस करो. Dividend दो.
क्या कर सकते हो. So we looked at the reasons that we'd given and we said, yeah, the only thing we can try for is inorganic growth. So market में कुछ था नहीं खरीदने के लिए. Of any कुछ था नहीं.
Value or connect for your businesses.
Yeah. So then we said, investing in startups is also inorganic growth. So the board said, yeah, it is. We said, okay, we'll have a startup investing program.
Okay.
So we began to invest. Over the next, from 2007 to 2012, we invested about 8 to 10 companies. 2 of which were Zomato and Policybazaar.
Amazing.
So it was born out of a need to utilize IPO proceeds. And then we
continue to support those investments.
And then we continue to invest, and now we invest in about 100 startups now.
100 startups?
Approximately.
And how many exits?
Thus far, the only exits have been at a loss.
Okay.
But see, Zomato and Policybazaar, we can exit because it's listed. Ixigo, we can exit, it's listed.
But what do you do with that money?
And plus, there's growth left there. Why are you exiting early?
So, there are many other companies who are sitting on cash after IPO and with their, cash flows from the internal accruals. So, why are they not getting into this? Do you see this culture restricted only to, foundationally tech companies who have seen
the venture capital typically has focused on high growth, early stage tech companies, with some now going into non-tech areas.
Okay.
For operating company to utilize its treasury to make VC investments, many will not do it. We did it, but many will not do it.
What's the fear? What fear you had when you were moving into this?
Not too many actually. I was saying, हमको मालूम है कि startup कैसे चलती है. हमको internet मालूम है. Internet startup कैसे चलती है हमें मालूम है. Entrepreneurship क्या चीज़ है हमने खुद किया हुआ है. So we believe we are uniquely qualified to identify other entrepreneurs who are doing something useful. That's why we went into it.
Because you felt you belong to the fraternity and you can identify and
absolutely
echo with their pains and aspirations.
Absolutely.
तो आप जब ये सारे decisions ले रहे थे, is there any mentor person you would always look up to?
See, I have no one mentor.
Okay.
But all my life I have learned from many different people. Right? I mean, could be family, parents, teachers, classmates, colleagues. But in the workspace, I would say that there were maybe 5 or 10 people, over 30, 35 years, whom I really learned from. Different things.
Any person, anecdote that you can recall that changed your mind or gave you a massive learning?
So my first job in Lintas, straight from college, those 3 years there, I think they were really crucial in my self-development.
Okay.
In my work ethic, my professionalism, my clarity of thought, my eye for detail, my people management skills, my operational skills. All of these come from those 3 years.
From those 3 years.
So it was really a truly great learning experience. A high pressure environment, but loads of fun. Young people.
This you're talking about your first job?
My first job.
After your undergrad or postgrad?
Undergrad. Right. So I learned a lot there.
Which organization?
Lintas.
Lintas, the advertising.
Advertising. Okay, so it was a great crucible for talent, Lintas in those days, and I learned so much there.
And did you, over a period of time, come to realize what is your leadership style?
So I think.
How would you define that?
So I think the first thing is at Lintas, what I learned was I was in client servicing. First thing was do what it takes to deliver, meet deadlines. If you commit to something, deliver.
If you commit something, deliver.
To that commitment. Second is, see, I was in a client servicing job, which meant that my role was to essentially coordinate among the various departments of the agency, give them a brief. So get a brief from the client,
right?
Get a brief, give that brief to the various departments to produce the output that is required, which is the advertisement.
Right.
Now this involved coordination with multiple departments. So creative copywriting and art direction.
Right.
Then it goes into art production. It might go into translation. Ki English mein likha hai, Hindi mein karo. But maybe the campaign has to go in multiple languages. Right? Media planning, media operations. Right? Many things. So, आप 8-9 departments से coordinate कर रहे हो. All the while, you're trying to get approval from the client at each stage. Right? Client approves the creative. Client approves the media plan. Right? Client suggests changes. You go back, get them done. Now, I was doing this when I was 21. None of the people who was getting work out of were reported to me. They were all older than me.
They were all older.
Okay. What it meant was that, and if they didn't do the work or they missed the deadline, nothing would happen to them, but I would be accountable.
Correct. You couldn't say anything to them.
Yeah. Right. So my ability to get stuff of the right quality out on time depended a lot on my people skills. They had to want to work with me and do my work because, see, they are all being approached by other client servicing executives for their clients.
Right.
So what work they prioritize above what is their call.
Absolutely.
वो तो मेहनत कर रहा है, मैं उसके काम कर रहा हूँ, इसका नहीं कर रहा पहले. So I really was not great with people skills and people handling, people management. And when I was in college, I mean, I was okay, like a student.
Yeah.
But in this situation, I had to learn. It took me a year to how to get work out of people who don't need to work with you. And that really honed my people skills. I had to beg, cajole, plead, whatever it took. So I think you learn a lot about being humble in that job.
And that has really helped you.
So it has helped me in my people management skills. And people management skills are essential.
Are essential for any leader, any entrepreneur, any leader.
Any leader, anybody in any organization.
Any organization. So for you, this leadership style has also seen many generations change under you. So how have you kept pace with it?
So the truth is, see, I'm 61 right now. Right. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur. Okay. And I figure I don't know everything. In fact, increasingly I know less and less as a ratio of what there is to know.
Correct.
But if you surround yourself with younger people who are more abreast with things, right? They will bring the knowledge into the organization, into the team, and you will learn from them.
True. But your bent of mind has always been analytical, technical. And what you built the business was based on a lot of innovation. Moving a print classified to completely online, and that to making a profitable business out of it. So how do you balance, or give importance to innovation versus execution? What comes
both
first?
Are important.
Both are important.
Both are important. Execution without innovation will work a bit, but if you don't innovate, you're not differentiated. If you innovate but don't execute after that, तो कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा. Need both. But typically, some innovation comes first, then execution, and then there's ongoing innovation to continuously improve as you learn from execution. So innovation is not one-off. अगर आप देखोगे, in Naukri, there must be 3 innovations a week that are rolled out. Some you see, some you don't see.
3 innovations a week.
Must be.
That's the culture.
साल में 150 होंगे.
Okay.
But a lot of the stuff you don't see because it's not visible on the homepage. You tweak an algorithm. The customer doesn't know, but the site begins to work better.
And as entrepreneur, when we are innovating, we are executing, we get stuck with decision making paralysis. कई बार ज़्यादा over analyze कर देते हैं. एक decision making paralysis company में entrepreneur में आ जाता है. So did you come across those stages, overcome that?
See, I think वो usually entrepreneur को नहीं होता है.
अच्छा.
Usually, maybe some managers will have it. See, entrepreneurs are accountable to markets, accountable to investors, shareholders. So most entrepreneurs who are successful have a very high bias for action.
High bias for action.
High bias for action.
Bias for action.
They will want to take action. Okay, fine, बात हो गई, अपना start doing it.
आगे करो.
And you must have seen this in your own job in your company. Yeah, ये सब ठीक है. Now let's get down to execution.
But अब जो आप ventures में invest कर रहे हैं, do you feel that it is a common trait or this needs to be built?
A bias for action is a very common trait among entrepreneurs.
Is a mark of an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneurs are doers. They make it happen.
And the fear of going wrong?
Most entrepreneurs actually don't assume they assume they'll be right. They've learned afterwards that they were wrong.
And they try to fix it.
So entrepreneurs have a very high bias for action.
And did you, in your journey, became strict or particular about governance, corporate governance especially, or was it always part of the Naukri or the influence fabric?
See, we are always honest people. But you take a person's honesty to translate into good governance practices inside a corporation, which is large and complex. There are many steps and a huge leap.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to surround yourself with people who know this stuff, and then they can tell you how to do it. They could be your auditors, they could be your internal auditors, they could be your board members, they could be people who have nothing to do with the company, but you listen to and you read. Right? In 1994, this is before Naukri, but I was an entrepreneur. 1994, we were doing 100 small things. Whatever came our way, we'd do just to survive. Right? So one day I got a call from somebody I knew saying, "Do you do market research? I've got a small project. Can you do it?" I said, "Yeah, we can do it." So went to the meeting. The office was in Nehru Place. We worked for a large corporation. ये brief है, ये करो, send us a proposal. So few days went back with the proposal. Guy looked at it, and we had quoted 40,000 rupees. ऐसे करो, 40 को 80 करो, and we'll split the difference. And I said, "Okay, let me come back to you." Now, again, I went back and thought, do I want to do this? And I thought for a few hours, and then I said, "You know what? I don't want to do this. This is not the way we work. It's not the way we want to work. This is totally contrary to my core values." Right? So we had never articulated something like this earlier, but now confronted with a decision and a choice, I got back saying, "Hum nahi karenge. We don't want the work. Thank you so much." And since then, it was a clearly articulated sort of principle that we will do honest work only. Not that we went dishonest work earlier, but for the first time, we were presented with a choice, and we said we will do honest work only. Now, that became core to our thing. Then you learn more. You look at large, well-governed corporations and say, "Okay, हम भी एक दिन ऐसे बनेंगे." In terms of governance, whether Infosys hai, Tata's hai, jo bhi hai. These large, well-governed companies will be like that. And then, when we raised venture capital, we were guided further. We had independent director on the board. We had an audit committee. We had our investors. Then, when we went public, we were guided further. So now we've got more independent directors, and public scrutiny is, public company scrutiny is even higher.
Correct.
But all along we are clear, we want to be and be regarded as one of India's best governed companies.
That's important to you or to the board?
It's important to me and to the board. देखो, मैं बताऊँ, आपको अच्छे independent director चाहिए ना? It's very hard to get them. It's the fiduciary responsibility and liability is so much potentially.
Today is so high.
It's so high.
People don't want to come forward.
Yeah, I don't want people boards. Because there's a risk attached.
Yes.
So your directors have to be very comfortable and clear that you are a clean company, squeaky clean, and you will not get them into trouble. So, and you have to be the kind of person who, also I'll tell you, I'm clear that well-governed companies have higher valuations.
Obviously, they always have that extra
alpha. I mean, we've been told by investors, overseas investors, told us, listen, Info Edge gets a 25% premium on corporate governance. Because we know we can lose money in your company, but we know that it will not be because you were dishonest or you hid something else.
So this governance has created a lot of wealth. Is there anything materially or anything that you are attached with?
Actually, see, my lifestyle or my spending or my aspiration to spend hasn't really changed that much over the decades. At the end of the day, middle class family, the values remain middle class. So you can't get this middle class thing out of my head. Okay, so I don't really spend too much. I've got one car. It's 7 years old. It's a Toyota.
And when you say you can't take the middle class thought process out of your mind, do you take pride in that, or do you feel?
I feel comfortable.
You feel comfortable.
In my home. This is who I am.
You are. Your family, your children,
all the same.
All the same. How did you bring that values into them?
So
they were literally born with a silver spoon.
Not really. Because
no, but when they were growing up, I mean,
our financial struggling years in the company were over only around 2005.
And how old were they?
At that time, my daughter was 12, and my son was 9. So they have seen the.
They've seen the rigor. They've seen the hard time. But growing up, college days, they had all the, benefits.
But like I said, by the time you finish school, your character is set. और अगर lifestyle नहीं बदला है घर पे, so then you stay that.
And how do you see this?
So they often travel by metro. Public transport. It's okay.
But how do you see this wealth, continue to keep them grounded?
See, I'll tell you, the apparent wealth, right, is just the share price today multiplied by number of shares.
Correct.
Right? It's not in the bank. And if you want to keep the institutional, integrity safe and alive, you're not going to sell your shares.
Correct.
Right? And therefore, this is not wealth to be enjoyed or consumed.
It's to be protected.
It's to be
passed on.
Well, the institution has to outlive the founders. And for the institution to be alive and well and kicking, the shareholding has to be kept safe.
What is the meaning of reputation for you?
It's what people think of you, it's what people say about you, and that is usually not a basis in reality. If you do good,
do you worry about reputation?
Well, I worry about my reputation if somebody says something bad. That's all. How does it happen? But otherwise, I don't think too much about it.
You don't think. So, any final message for our viewers who are listening, who are from small towns, big towns, getting stuck in 20-30 crore kind of businesses, or thinking of starting a new business, young people, what message would you want to give?
Well, actually, look, India is a growing economy, and a growing economy offers opportunities. You've got to be there to take them and work hard and make it happen, and be optimistic. The future will be better than the past. Always. I think an entrepreneur's job, fundamental belief is that the future will be better than the past. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to be an optimist.
To this last line I read somewhere, you need to know where to grit and where to quit.
Actually,
have you ever thought about quitting?
See,
it was a tough time.
No, so I'll tell you. When we launched Naukri and it began to succeed, we stopped doing other stuff. It's not as if they were not successful. They were successful on a small scale. We found something that was scaling up well. We said, "Ye bada ho sakta hai, baki sab chhod do." So we quit that because this was growing.
You made that choice.
Yeah, made that choice in '98.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev.
Hey, thank you
for taking our time.
Thanks for having me. Nice talking to you.
Fantastic conversation.
And great meeting you again, man.
Yes, absolutely. My pleasure.